And you're going live. Good evening. Welcome to the Clifton Park Town Board meeting of June 15th. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Teresa, can you call the roll?
Councilman Whalen? Here. Councilwoman Standard? Here. Councilman Romano?
Here.
Councilwoman Holloway? Here. Supervisor Barrett?
Here. Entertain a motion to approve town board meeting minutes of June 1st.
So moved.
Second.
By Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Holloway. Discussion.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Holloway? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes, communications and announcements. A couple of quick announcements. I do want to thank the Chinese Community Center of the Capital Region for their assistance this weekend. We had our fourth public protective mask distribution. The town has held 4 of those now, and we'll have another soon. This one, the Chinese Community Center of the Capital Region donated some additional masks to the town, a few thousand, and we gave those out on Saturday. So it went very well. It was very busy. There's still a high demand for masks. They can be difficult to procure, and when you can get them, many times they're very expensive. So this is one way for us to lessen the expense, provide some peace of mind for residents. We don't believe that the need for wearing masks in public places is going to go away anytime soon. Certainly for the foreseeable future, and then as we get back into flu season going into the fall and winter, I'm sure they'll be worn by many people during that time as well. So the need will continue. Also, the program that the town and the Clifton Park IDA have partnered on, where we have purchased a large quantity of masks that are being donated to Clifton Park businesses as well. And we've had a couple dozen businesses that have contacted us so far, and we've been able to get masks to those businesses. Again, it's about peace of mind and eliminating an expense for businesses as they reopen or prepare to reopen. And now that we're entering phase 3 here in a couple of days, which I believe it was made official that the governor said the Capital Region would be entering phase 3 here Wednesday. In addition, they also increased the gathering size to 25 from 10. So things are going in the right direction, but of course, as anything is loosened up, there's always a resounding cautious tone and comments that are quickly followed after announcing that something might be a little more loose than it was the week before or 2 weeks before. So we just continue to do what we've been doing for months, and that is to watch, read all of the guidance and mandates that are disseminated by New York State. And sometimes they take some interpretation. Other times they're more direct and specific. But either way, there are rules and regulations and mandates, guidelines that we follow based on the guidance of New York State. Now, I know some of you comment to me, and I'm sure others rather often, that some of the mandates and guidelines don't make a lot of sense because one store can do something and the other can't, or one group can do something and another group can't. And we understand the frustration that some people have with these state mandates, but we're again working through them each day, and things were changing daily as the tightening continued. Now they're changing daily as we move into phase 1, 2, and eventually 3 here on Wednesday. And by the end of the month, hopefully, phase 4. Now, once we get to phase 4, that doesn't mean that things will be back to normal as we knew them. There will still be restrictions on many activities and size of gatherings and so on and so forth, but we'll continue to work through those. I do also want to thank the Anna Rivers Foundation and the Rivers family and the Army of Volunteers that they had here this weekend. As soon as we were done with the mask distribution, that went from 10 to 12 on Saturday. 12:30, they came in, the Rivers family and their volunteers, to put together bags. They had 750 bags to give to people that are in need, and many, as we know, many of our neighbors have been in need. They lost their job. Many of them lost their jobs right away as soon as the shutdown began, and people that wouldn't normally need assistance, they do during these times. So it was a great gesture for them to do because they were able to collect cash donations from companies, personal donations, donations of food and non-perishable items, and they put the bags together. And like I said, there were 750 of them. And then they conducted a giveaway of the food yesterday from 10 to 12. So it was busy in here, and I do want to thank Matt Andrus in our Buildings and Grounds Department for doing a great job. If you saw this room yesterday, you would say, how the heck are they going to have a meeting in here today? But as you can see, everything was moved here from Town Hall. It's all set up. It's safe. The tape down. Everything moved out of here, all the tables, and so great job. So we could have a meeting here tonight. The reason we're having the meeting here tonight is we have 2 public hearings, and there's a little more room here, not only in the room, but outside. So we had no idea, obviously, how many folks are going to show up for either public hearing, but if there was a large crowd of people, whoever's here for the second public hearing could have waited outside here or by the door or in the lobby. So we just had more room here, so it just made more sense to have the public hearings here at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center. With that, I'll ask if there's any other communications or announcements. Okay. All right, well, as I said, we do have 2 public hearings this evening, and the first one is on a project that has been around for years now, and that is the Ballston Lake Sewer District. Now, if you could hit the light real quick, Matt.
Do you want me to read that?
Yeah, if you could.
Town of Clifton Park, County of Saratoga, State of New York, notice of public hearing regarding the reestablishment of Ballston Lake Sewer District Number 1. Please take notice that the town board of the Town of Clifton Park will conduct a public hearing on Monday, June 15, 2020 at 7:05 p.m. at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center, 6 Clifton Park Common Core, Town of Clifton Park, County of Saratoga, State of New York, regarding the reestablishment of the Ballston Lake Sewer District Number 1 in accordance with Resolution Number 107 of 2020, adopted by the Town Board, adopted on June 1st, 2020. The Town Board of the Town of Clifton Park has been working with the Town of Ballston, which has prepared engineering maps, plans, and reports and cost estimates for the provision of multiple municipal sanitary sewers for properties around the Ballston Lake. The construction of the sewer improvements is proposed as a joint project. The financing of the system is proposed through the establishment of the sewer districts in each town, with approximately 13.26% of the estimated usage equivalent dwelling units within the Clifton Park. The Town Board of the Town of Clifton Park has scheduled the public hearing to solicit comment from the public concerning the proposal. The boundaries of the proposed Ballston Lake Sewer District area generally encompasses properties along the eastern and southern border of Ballston Lake in the Town of Clifton Park, with borders generally described as beginning at the southern end of the boundary line between Clifton Park and the Town of Ballston near the intersection of Shaver Road and Ballston Lake Road, including 4 parcels with frontage on Ballston Lake and or Mill Road. Said properties will be connected into the sewer collection system that serves the town of Ballston Sewer District on the west side of Ballston Lake. Based on the opening of sealed bids for the joint project on October 18, 2019, the estimated maximum amount to be expended for the improvements, including design, construction, and administrative costs, is $17,754 and $17,754,661 for the improvements to be constructed within the joint project to be planned and constructed in both towns, with approximately 13.26% of those expenditures occurring within the town of Clifton Park, resulting in a maximum amount of total expenditures in Clifton Park of $2,355,000. The proposed method of financing the cost of the improvements consists of the issuance of serial bonds and bond anticipation notes of the town of Ballston to mature in annual installments payable in the first instance from the assessments levied on the benefited real property in the proposed sewer district, with the Clifton Park District paying its proportionate share of the debt service to the town of Ballston annually. The cost of acquiring, constructing, and installing the improvements will be assessed by the town board in proportion as nearly as may be to the benefit which each lot or parcel in the district will derive therefrom. The cost of the proposed extension to the typical property in the extension is estimated to be $910 per year, which consists of debt service payments estimated not to exceed $700 in operation and maintenance charges through the Saratoga County Sewer District at published rates. The estimated cost of the hookup fees to the typical property as part of the extension is $500, which consists of an inspection fee payable to the Saratoga County Sewer District, which will accept the flow generated from the sewer facilities. The estimated cost of connecting each property to the system is estimated at $8,000 to $10,000 on average, and includes the cost of residential grinder pumps necessary for compatibility with pressure sewer facilities and the connection of the lateral sewer service pipes installed from each property line into the home or structure. The proposed method of financing the total cost of the joint project includes the following: with approximately 13.26% of all expenditures allocated to Clifton Park properties benefiting from the joint project. New York State Clean Water Fund grant of $2,550,932, issuance of bonds and or bond anticipation notes by the town of Ballston to New York State Clean Water State Revolving Fund to secure short-term financing in the amount of $10,203,729. New York State Water Quality Improvement Grant of up to $5 million. The map plan and report on which the proposed district is based may be reviewed during regular business hours at the town clerk's office. And that was published in the June 5th edition of the Gazette.
Very good, thank you, Teresa. So this is a project we've been working jointly with the town of Ballston on for a number of years. Now, we've already gone through the process of establishing a special district. There was a vote. The vote was in the affirmative in both municipalities, but for this project to move forward, there needs to be a reestablishment of the district. Reason for that is the increased costs, as well as acceptance of a few $1 million of new grant money. So that is why we are going through the process again. So as part of that process, we're having a public hearing on the establishment of the district, which is tonight. And then we will move forward in conjunction with the town of Ballston. I believe they're having a special meeting this evening, right?
Yeah.
So Ballston is having a special meeting tonight on this same topic. If the board does vote to approve the district, then in discussions with the town of Ballston, it appears the next move would be the vote which would happen on August 17th, from noon to 8, correct?
Yes.
So the vote, typically after establishing a special district, there's a permissive referendum period of 30 days, where people that are against the formation of the district have the opportunity to gather enough signatures to force a vote. Well, right now is probably not a good time for people to be knocking on their neighbors' doors asking for signatures due to the COVID situation. Plus, the number of signatures, which is, what, 5%?
Yes.
Of the affected people within the proposed district is it's a very small number, and I would imagine that, with some effort, certainly people can come up with that 5%. But again, it's not a position we want to place people in based on the circumstances. So by eliminating that permissive referendum period, it would just immediately go to the vote. Because that's what the permissive referendum would do, is to force that vote in either case. So in talking with the town of Ballston, that is the preferred route to take. And the date that they gave us as a target date, again, is August 17th, noon to 8. Now, with that vote, did they say it would take place at the Ballston Town Hall?
I did not get the location.
All right, well, we'll certainly get that information out to everybody. And I'm sure it'll be widely publicized as well. Is there any other information? Tom McCarthy's been our liaison to the town of Ballston during this process. Is there anything else that we should mention about the process as it might take place here with the vote and everything?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay. Right. Now, as far as, we have a one-pager here that speaks to the empirical data that is also included in the public notice that our clerk read. Public notices are in the paper, or we can certainly get you whatever information you're looking for. But in basic terms, if you listen to the public notice, it did talk about the additional grant funding that is being now made available, that the estimated cost for homeowners is the same as it was prior. As I mentioned, the cost of the project has gone up, but obviously there's also another $5 million in grant money as well. So down at the second to last line, estimated annual cost to homeowners. This consists of debt service on the $10,203,729 plus sewer charges to Saratoga County Sewer District, $910. Now, as is the case with any special district that is created, it is the homeowner's responsibility to pay for hooking into the system. So a main pipe is run along the road by your home, and then it is up to the homeowner to hook into the pipe. Now, there's been a lot of talk of the first go around, the first time we went through this process of creating a district and having a vote, was the time frame in which Clifton Park residents would have to hook into the system. And Tom, if you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the establishment documents that we prepared back in 2015 when we did this initially has no requirement that Clifton Park residents connect to the sewer system. The state law under which we're establishing this district does require that all the properties that are benefited by the main line, by the main infrastructure, are required to pay the debt service on the bonding. But as far as the sewer charges to the county and the connection charges, which is that $8,000 to $10,000 figure, if a homeowner in Clifton Park does not wish to connect, they don't have to pay those charges unless and until they do connect.
Right, right. So again, the debt service portion of the cost, everybody in the district shares in that, and everybody pays that. But you have the option of whether you want to pay those funds to hook into the system now, or if you want to wait a little bit. And this is not an inexpensive project, which is why the town board has wanted to provide Clifton Park residents some time, as opposed to forcing them to come up with the money right away and hook into the system. The last thing we want to do is have that added expense, which is not small by any stretch of the imagination, and have that be possibly a deciding factor when somebody would have to sell their home or move. And so that's been a concern. And that's why we believe that some time involved to give people time to save and do what they need to do as on an individual basis, what's best for their family is the proper route. Now we consist of Clifton Park, 13.26% of the entirety of the project. So the remainder is obviously the town of Ballston. So we'll continue to work with them. They're quarterbacking this project as they have from the beginning. But we'll continue to work with them and work together to get the information out to folks as things move forward. Any comments from the board at this time? Okay. So those are some, I think, the important points that I was trying to think, what have people asked me the most about since we started this process and completed the first district and vote. And those were some of the things that came to mind, but you might have some other comments or questions. So if you'd like to speak on this matter, we'll ask that you raise your hand and state your name and address for the record, and please keep it to 5 minutes or less. And we're going to use this microphone right here. Is there anybody that would like to speak on this matter? Yes, Judy. Can you hit the lights?
May I remove this so you can turn?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, that would defeat the purpose, right?
You need me to follow that.
All day.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. My name is Judy Broder. I reside at 106 East Side Drive. That's part of Clifton Park. I'm also on the sewer committee. And I haven't been terribly active in the committee for the past year, but have been on it and I'm familiar with what's happening here. I would like to reiterate that the costs for this project to the homeowner, as Bill stated, have not increased. We're locked in. We're looking at the same numbers that we approved in October 2015. And if you're speaking about time to build up the reserves to purchase that grinder pump, you've had nearly 5 years now. So it's not new news. It's inevitable that sewers will have to come around the lake. The body of water is impaired. And it's only a matter of time before New York State says, you must do it. And then you will not have a choice as to what it costs. We have that choice now. And cost is not, as Bill said, it's not small potatoes, that installation cost. But compare that to replacing a septic system in this day and age, if you have the space to put a new septic system. Some of us don't. So it's important to us, not just for our futures, but the future of the lake and our natural resources.
Thank you. Okay, sir, did you, yeah, come on up, please.
Good evening. My name is Les Savola. My wife and I live on West Side Drive in Ballston Lake. which is in the town of Boston. We lived there for close to 50 some odd years, and we are in the district. We strongly support that Clifton Park accepts the $5 million grant from DEC. Obviously, it's 13%. This is a full grant. I'm currently the president of the Balsam Lake Improvement Association, and I've been on the town, not the town, but the sewer project for about 5 to 6 years now. And people should understand that tonight's resolution would just increase the ceiling on the project, because that's the rules. We have to do that. From $12 million to $17 million, as was stated on the board there. This increase in total cost does not impact the cost that the residents would have to pay annually. That was voted on in 2015, and those numbers are exactly the same. This also helps us another way, is that the new ceiling, $5 million, gives us an extra $1.8 million in contingency funds if something bad happened during construction. But the other thing is that if the grant is not accepted, we would have an established sewer district, but we wouldn't have enough funds to pay for it. So in effect, without the $5 million, the sewer project is dead in the water. Now, Balsam Lake has been designated, as we said, by DEC as impaired. We have phosphorus issues in the lake, we have septic issues in the lake, in our watershed. The sewers are just one of the critical components we have to saving the life of our lake. The other thing I'd like to mention is that this is not just strictly a lake-centric project. In reality, many of the people in Clifton Park, it's a public health issue. There's no public water on East Side Drive. When you combine that with the fact that there is no sewer, that makes for a very potential serious health issue for many people. There are people who drink the water in the lake, of the lake, that needs to be addressed and fixed. Anybody else that has any questions, you certainly communicate with me, ask me, I'm available. Phone number 518-225-1148. And I have an email address, and we will answer any questions. Judy is a member of our sewer committee. We're glad to handle that for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to run through these numbers again, the total estimate for the project, $17,754,661. And that's based on the bids that were received. You've got a New York State Water Quality Improvement Grant of up to $5 million. New York State Clean Water Fund Grant, which was already in play at $2.55 million. Which leaves $10,203,729 to be, that's the indebted portion for the district. So the percent of state grant funding for the total cost of the project is 43%. So it is significant, and regarding special districts and other projects that we've done, I mean, that's a very high percentage of grant funding to have for this type of a project. There's no doubt about that. Anyone else? Yes, sir. How you doing today?
Everyone. John Bradley, 95 East Side Drive. I've been there over 50 years, and the lake is certainly, as Judy said, becoming more impaired every year. We do get our water from the lake also. In the beginning, my father worked for Sterling Drug 50 years ago. He's been there a long time. He had the water tested back then. They said that he must have brought the wrong sample. This water is perfect. Can't be lake water. He said, no, it is. He said, no, you must have did it wrong. Bring another one. The same thing. Now we have a coloring system with 1,000 filters and everything else, and they still bring me to the water. So the lake is impaired. our family was swimming in the lake all these years, and now the younger kids are realizing that's so pleasant. You can't see that anymore. It's working. So it certainly is fading. And as someone said, if it becomes declared unsafe, it will affect all the towns, but also the property values and everything else. So I think it is time to do something about it. So I just bring it up, just observing all those years, it probably is time to do something. Residents be grateful for that.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Robert Kelly, my wife Kathy and I.
Get a little closer there,
My
sir.
wife Kathy and I live at 99 East Side Drive, and we've been residents in Capital Park and Boston Lake for 41 years. And I'm here tonight just to show our support for the acceptance of the grant, to see that Boston Lake finally gets a sewer system. And as everyone has said, the lake is listed as impaired. As we know, a health issue in Boston Lake flows from Boston Lake to Round Lake to the Hudson River. Things move on. I know the sewers have been a topic of conversation since the Clean Water Act of the 1970s, and here we are, 20 years into the 21st century, and we're still just talking about sewers. So I'd like to say that 50 years ago, I was a young soldier in Vietnam. I spent my life up close and personal with dirty, polluted water, and that was the least of my concerns. And I would just like to say that, today I'd just like to see the lake not turn into another third world swamp. Thank you.
Yeah, sir.
Thank you for your service.
Sir, okay. You said you lived in town for 41 years. Have you lived in that house for 41 years? Or?
Yes,
So have you seen similar to what Mr. Bradley was talking about?
absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Well,
Anyone else? Anything else you want to mention, Tom?
No, really, the only reason for this proceeding is that the statute requires two numbers to be published. The total cost of the project and the cost of the project to a typical home. And when the bids came in higher, it had to be redone. But when the state came up with the grant money to cover the cost of the overage, it covered that piece to the homeowner. So I think it's, and these numbers are based on bids.
Yeah.
So they're no longer engineer's estimates. So, that's the only reason we're doing, the process was required.
Yeah, there were several bidders, if I remember, right?
There were, yeah, there were.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have engineers' estimates with large projects, and then when you go out to bid, that's the real number, right? And most of the time, they're pretty close. But in this case, there have been bids received. Now, they were a little while ago, but it gives us a much stronger baseline to work from. And so it gives us a little more comfort as far as what the project will cost moving forward. Any comments from the board?
I have one comment.
Yes.
That was,
Oh,
received,
yes, please.
by email today.
You could
This is-
just move the.
Oh, sure. This is from Nancy Bellamy, and she emailed me this question this morning. She said, I have often wondered if the list of voters that were a part of the 2015 project, if it's all current and accurate, and I assured her that, and I emailed her back telling her that that would be updated. Should there be a vote, please, can this list be reviewed? And I told her yes, it would. Trying to pull some of the information out for her. How are they going to pay? How are people going to pay $1,000 a year for a lot for 30 years on top of school taxes in Boston? In the Vernon Hills Boston School District was the question. She owns a home in Ilion, Herkimer County. She pays $18 every 3 months for sewer tax. Isn't there a better way to finance this project than to hurt the current residents for enjoyment of new condos coming in and need access to county sewer along Lake Road? Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Again, we want to make sure we get those written comments in the record, again, based on the current circumstances. There are some people that are uncomfortable coming out, so we want to make sure every comment is heard. So duly noted, Teresa, if you could make sure that gets in notes. Any other comments from the board at this time? Okay. All right, so that's, those are all the basic numbers. This is where we stand. As was mentioned, the last vote was a number of years ago, so I know there's been a lot of people following this very closely for a number of years, and we'll continue to work with Ballston, as I said before, to go to the next step. And the vote, as I said, would be August 17th, noon to 8, as we were told this week. So we'll get more information out there as far as location and any other specifics that people will need to make sure they get their vote and their voice heard. Okay? All right, well, with that, we'll close the public hearing on the Ballston Lake Sewer District. I want to thank everybody for your comments tonight. Our second public hearing is on the Crescent Waste sewer system, a private sewer system. That the owners of the system have made it clear to the town of Clifton Park that they intend on abandoning the system to the town as of June 30th. So Teresa, if you could read the legal notice as it appears from that, please.
Town of Clifton Park, County of Saratoga, State of New York, notice of public hearing regarding establishment of the Clifton Park Sewer District Number 2. Please take notice of the town board and town of Clifton Park will conduct a public hearing on Monday, June 15, 2020 at 7:20 p.m. at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center, 6 Clifton Common, town of Clifton Park, County of Saratoga, State of New York, regarding the establishment of the Clifton Park Sewer District Number 2 in the southern part of the town. The establishment of sewer district is being proposed to own, maintain, and operate the facilities, conduits, pumps, and real property interests that are being abandoned to the town by the Crescent Waste Treatment Corporation. The boundaries of the new district are generally described as all that tract piece of parcel of land situate in the town of Clifton Park, Saratoga County, of generally being bounded by Huntwood Drive on the north, Westchester Drive and Grissom Drive on the south, Bono Road and Foxwood Drive on the west, and Interstate 87 to the east. Being more particularly described as follows, being designated as the previously privately owned and serviced Crescent Waste Treatment Corporation, encompassing approximately 1.9 square miles and 2,500 parcels, as shown on the attached map entitled Crescent Waste Treatment Corporation, existing sanitary sewer, existing conditions plat, dated February 18, 2009. The total amount to be expended is estimated at $5,900 for engineering and design services as associated with the formation and planned operation and maintenance of the facilities. The annual cost of the proposed extension to the typical property in the sewer district will consist of a $175 annual sewer use charge to Clifton Park Sewer District Number 2 and a $255.50 sewer charge payable to the Saratoga County Sewer District pursuant to published rates for a total estimated annual cost to the typical property of $430.50. The map plan and report on which the proposed district is based may be viewed during regular business hours at the town clerk's office or viewed downloaded from the sewer department page from the town's website. Due to the current state of emergency within the state of New York, but we just have the regular cautions about coming into the meeting with social distancing.
And we are sufficiently distanced, especially since most people are here for the other one. That one's gonna cost them a lot of money. This one, not so much. At least not new one. All right, so with that, we'll open the public hearing, and Walt Lippman from MJ Engineering is going to go through the map plan and report. The map plan and report is something that is necessary to create a special district and accept ownership of the sewer system. Back in the early 2000s, we had abandoned to the town systems such as Dutch Meadows, Woodland Hills, and then by far the largest system, which was CK Sanitary. That's the former Van Patten sewer system that served his homes and others. And at that time, we didn't have any experience operating the sewer department, but we learned quickly. We promoted Michael Bryan to the position of the head of the sewer department at that time. We created a sewer department at the same time, right, Mike? So, and then we began to operate those systems. So what's involved with operating the system? Well, there's certainly the day-to-day maintenance, there's capital improvement projects, there's billing, there's customer inquiries that come in, and probably the most important part of it, the emergency contact information and effective customer service, particularly when people see or experience an issue with their sewer system. So these are all very important parts of operating any sewer system. And over the years, we've gained a great deal of experience operating these systems. Now, Crescent Waste Sewer is not a small system, a couple thousand customers. So it will be a challenge. These systems are abandoned to the town, as we've experienced in the past, when they're decades old, 40, 50 years old or more. And at that point, they typically need a fair amount of work. But over the years, we have increased our capabilities internally. When we first created the sewer department, we relied on contractors for just about anything that involved fixing a situation, any kind of excavation or research into a problem that we experienced. But over time, we have step by step improved our knowledge, expertise, and internal capabilities. We've invested in training for our employees. We've invested in equipment that has been very important to operating the systems. And by doing that, we reduce the cost for the people within these districts. So what the public hearing is about is basically the same type of situation that we had with the first public hearing tonight, and that is creating a special district. And you create a special district because you need a mechanism to manage the system and collect fees. And that is what the special district will do. Now, under state law, and it's the Transportation Corporation law, the owner and operator of a private sewer system has the option after 5 years of operating the system to abandon that system to the nearest municipality, at which point we must accept ownership of that system. And that has led to the other abandonments that I just mentioned, and that's where we are today. We were notified that by June 30th, they would abandon the system, so we've been quickly collecting as much information as possible from the current owner, getting that information to our engineering partners, and putting together this map plan and report that Walt will go through, which is the basis for creating the district and the first step in collecting the needed information we must have if we are to operate the system appropriately. So Walt, if you could go through the map plan and report and those high points, and then we'll take questions and talk a little further.
Sure. Thank you, Supervisor. Just gonna go through, I'm Walt Lippman from MJ Engineering, just gonna go through just a couple of the topics here, for the Met Plan report. Quick introduction background, Supervisor did an excellent job of already kind of telling you why we're here tonight. The benefiting properties and boundaries, the overview of the wastewater collection system, the user cost components, the current and proposed costs, the next steps, and contract information. So as Supervisor said, the Crescent Waste Treatment Corp has been around since at least 1969. They notified, I have a copy of the letter there, on April 20th to the town, indicating that they would be abandoning their system and would be turning it over to the town at the end of June. So as part of the takeover process, the town needs to formally establish a sewer district which encompasses the current Crescent Waste service area. Not going to be able to really see it too well from here. There's a list of streets on the right-hand part of the slide, on the left-hand part. District is kind of separated on the upper half. You've got Huntwood and Briarfield up in there. On the east end, you see the town of Halfmoon kind of Clifton Park line. South Berry Road is in through there. Crescent Road basically cuts through. Just going to step up here just so you can see it a little bit better here. Crescent Road cuts basically straight through the project. Luno is right here. Low Road, Mystic. Down through here, you have Grissom and Merrill Drive. So basically the southeast corner of the town of Clifton Park. So the existing collection system as of today, right now it's privately owned and operated by the Crescent Waste Treatment Corporation. There's about 67,000 linear feet of 8-inch gravity main, 12,000 linear feet of various size force mains, 5 pump stations, and 350 or so manholes. The treatment is currently provided by the Saratoga County Sewer District Number 1 in Halfmoon. And the rules and regulations are the Crescent Waste Treatment Corporation. The right-hand portion of the slide will be the proposed collection system once it's taken over by the town. And I highlighted in red the 3 things that change. The first thing is now going to be owned and operated by the town of Clifton Park Sewer District Number 2. The collection system itself will remain the same. What's there now is what will remain once the district is established. No change in the treatment. That's still going to continue to go to the Saratoga County Sewer District. And the rules and regulations will be the town of Clifton Park Sewer Use Law, Section 169 of Town Code. So when you form a sewer district or a special district, there's 2 components. One is debt service, and the second is operation and maintenance, O&M. So the debt service, at this time, the town will be taking over the system as it is. So there is no capital improvements planned as of today. And Mike will speak to this later. Once the town sewer department gets more familiar with the system, and gets better understanding, there could be capital improvements in the future. If that's the case, then as they're needed, those improvement costs would be part of the district. The operation and maintenance portion, there's 2 components. One will be the town of Clifton Park. That will be a O&M charge for the collection system portion of the project, and to the Saratoga County Sewer District for the treatment portion of the project. There's also connection fees currently in the town of Clifton Park. If you're a current customer and you're connected to the system today, there is no connection fee. This connection fee is for all those pieces of property that are currently on private septic, or if there's future development in the future, then they will have to connect into the system. And that's outlined under Town Code 169, Article 11 charges. It's $1,000 for a connection fee and $50 per fee. So I just want to reiterate that customers currently connected to the system are not charged with a connection fee. So the current Crescent Waste treatment corp costs, right now you are billed quarterly by Crescent Waste. I have a copy of the invoice on the first one on the right-hand side. You are billed $44.46 per unit. If you're a single-family residence, that's what you'll see on your bill. The treatment costs, you're billed annually on your town and county tax bill in January. So that came out, that was $255.50. Under the proposed Clifton Park Sewer District number 2 costs, the collection system costs will be billed quarterly for the remainder of 2020 at a rate of $41.55 per unit. So a slight reduction of what you're currently paying now. As part of that cost, the cost of this map plan report can only be borne by the properties within the special district. So the cost of the formation of this district is built into the 4155. Starting in 2021, the billing will be annually on the town and county tax bill. And that will be about $175 per unit. That's proposed 2021 rate charge, which is similar to the Clifton Park Sewer District number 1 charges. The treatment to Saratoga County Sewer District will also continue to be paid on the town and county tax bill of the $255.50. So you have a little spreadsheet there. So just to summarize everything, the remaining quarter 3 and quarter 4 of 2020 will be a $41.55 charge per unit. The $255.50 to Saratoga County Sewer District was already paid on your January tax bill. Starting in 2021, it will become an annual charge. So you'll see 2 items on your town and county tax bill. One, the town charge of the $175, and then one for the county for $255.50. So the next steps tonight is the public hearing. The town can adopt a resolution to create the sewer district subject to ordinance referendum. As supervisor said on the previous public hearing. No matter if you don't anticipate anything coming in, any petition, you still have to wait for 30 days. So at the end of 30 days, so on or after July 15th, the town can adopt the final order resolution to form the Clifton Park Sewer District number 2. Up here, I just have contact information. I have Mike O'Brien, Collection System Manager, his phone number, email, if any questions. If you think of any questions after tonight. I've got the supervisor's phone number, and I also have my contact information in case you have any questions. Are there any questions now? Yes.
Do we have any idea what condition the system is in right now?
We're gonna learn.
We got 5 pump stations and, what, 3,000 miles of sewers, or not 3,000. There's no way of knowing what condition they're in. I mean, no information from the Crescent Waste Treatment people.
Well, Mike O'Brien, who will be, who is the head of the sewer department, who will be responsible for operating the system, has been in discussion with their personnel about some areas that seem to be more problem areas than others. There's definitely some areas of the system that are challenging. What we need to do is find out how bad they are. And we do have equipment that we can utilize to do that telescopically. We camera the pipes from the inside. And once we start conducting those types of reviews on the system, we really don't know exactly what the condition of the system is. But we'll certainly learn over time. We're trying to get ahead of it, be proactive as Mike is now. But we'll learn a lot more as time goes on. As we talk to more customers of the system, maybe people like yourself that have lived there a long time, will be a source of information. We're certainly going to try to limit any bad situations as much as possible. I can tell you what we've done with the other systems is not only the ongoing learning process and exploration of the system itself, but one, hardening the system to make sure that it's more resilient into power outages and things of that nature. Secondly is to invest in capital projects. What we found with other systems is there might have been some Band-Aids put on different areas, and what that does is it ends up creating a lot of time and expense for your operation. And typically, it's much better to just go in, fix the problem, and be done with it. Because over the long term, you save a lot more money doing it that way. So we're always proactive, trying to not only learn up front, but also as we're conducting the operations of the system to make sure that we're protecting the viability of the system and in turn your properties and your property value.
In terms of the cost, let's say there were significant.
Would you mind coming up, sir? Would you mind coming, just so to make sure everybody can hear you, that's all. Thank you.
I'm Sal Pagano, I live on Stockton Court, so I am in this district.
Sure.
How do we share or how do we pay for the cost of major improvements? Let's say, let me back up. Was the corporation responsible for the maintenance of the pump stations? There's 5 pump stations.
Mm-hmm.
Did they pay for all the services, the utilities and everything for those pump stations?
Yes, yeah, they were responsible for the complete operation.
Okay. The sewers, I can imagine, are more of an issue because they're underground. You don't know. I personally have no information from my neighbors and myself as the perils that came the last 50 some odd years. I have not heard any. I didn't have any personally, right? But how would we share or how do we pay for those improvements that will be necessary? Because he got out of this because it suddenly wasn't worth their while. I mean, they held on a lot longer than the original corporations. They've since 59. How would we share that, or how do we pay for that?
Well, the special district would be created to be the ownership mechanism for the system. The town board are the commissioners of the special district. So ultimately, the town board makes the decisions as far as budgetary items, capital improvement projects, how money is spent on the system each year. So what we've done in the past, which has worked, is we do our research, we learn as much as possible, we prioritize projects, and then come up with a plan, an immediate plan, 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan, and try as frugally as possible execute that plan without necessitating a large increase in rates. But you're right, the system is not new. There are some trouble areas, as Mike is learning about now. There will be capital improvements that we will need to execute, but it is a larger system, which is good. You know, you have 2,000 customers, so using economies of scale, you know, when there is a major capital improvement project that needs to be done, is obviously in your favor as a ratepayer. But it would be shared amongst all the properties within the district, the cost of the capital improvement.
So the costs, they're borne by the 2,500 or whatever homeowners. that are in that area.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. As Walt mentioned, I know some people get confused because we have to put in the paperwork, we talk about a connection charge. If you're a current customer of the system, as Walt mentioned, there is no connection charge. That's only for properties that aren't currently connected to the system that might be in the future. And that does happen. We just, as I mentioned at the last town board meeting, we just approved a connection for a few properties to the Dutch Meadows system all these years later, which is good, because then they have a few new people paying into the expense of the district. So if you can pick up some additional properties, that's good. But Dutch Meadows, I mean, what's that, Mike? How many homes?
300?
Yeah, 300, so, if they have a major capital expense, on 300 properties, that could be a heavier hit as opposed to 2,000, or CK Sanitary, where there's several thousand. But it would be borne by everybody in the district. Now, one thing I wanted to make sure was clear that, can you go through what the rate is now and what the rate will be when the town assumes ownership?
Yep, so currently, on your present waste that you get quarterly, is $44.46 per unit. And then on your January tax bill, you saw the $255.50 from the county sewer.
We already pay that.
Yep.
That was already paid on your January
And we
bill.
will continue to pay this.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So the remainder of 2020, quarter 3 and quarter 4, you will now be billed by the town of Parks or District Number 2 at a rate of $41.55. So a slight reduction from what you are seeing right now, present waste. And that will continue for the rest of this year. Beginning 2021, the town will now be putting it on the annual tax bill. So you'll see it as one chunk.
So you'll see the county charge on there as well as.
Well, we're already paying that bill.
Yeah.
We have that.
Yeah.
Is that consistent, the 175 plus or minus, consistent with what other districts are paying? Is that where the figure comes from?
Well, each district is different.
Okay.
There isn't a uniform charge for each district. We've talked about that over the years, combining the districts. We knew at some point Crescent Waste would probably be abandoned to the town. And all I've asked when I have talked to the owners over the years sparingly is, if you do end up abandoning it to the town at some point, just do us a favor and give us a little heads up, that's all. Time is always very useful in these processes as we move forward. So, they can abandon it at any time. They chose now, why, I have no idea. But we're here today to make sure that we're going to operate this district just as well as we have the other districts in the past. And now we have a great deal of experience. So it's very helpful to have the expertise, knowledge, experience, equipment in place now as compared to all those years ago, 15 years ago, when we were dealing with the establishment of the sewer district. So, again, just to review, what will change? Well, you'll receive a bill from the town of Clifton Park as opposed to Crescent Waste for that number, which is slightly less than what you're paying now, twice through the end of this year. The bill will then be added to your county tax bill. So you'll see that along with your county sewer charge, which is already on your county tax bill. You'll have, I believe, wholeheartedly improved customer service with any issues that might arise. You know, we as Walt said, the timing is middle of July as far as our official ownership, although we might be operating at beginning of July, if they don't decide to give us a couple more weeks. Because once they walk away, we need to be there. We need to be there to make sure that everybody within the system is taken care of. So, those are basically the changes that you'll see. And, Mike, why don't you, provide any information that you can as far as what you've learned already, in the last few weeks? And, any other tidbits of information you think would be helpful for the folks listening?
Sure. To answer your question a little bit more in depth, I've met with the current operator of the system, and I'm happy to report that a great deal of the system is plastic. That's a big improvement from what we were used to inheriting in the past, which was all AC pipe. So from a condition standpoint, the types of problems you're going to run into with plastic pipe versus transite or asbestos concrete pipe are often things that can be rectified a lot easier with maintenance and that kind of thing in the beginning. Some of the older parts of the neighborhoods are all AC pipe, and there are problems there. AC, it's a clean word for asbestos concrete pipe. It's an old tech that was actually good, but it gets wet. It doesn't react well with sewer gases, and over time, those pipes can be really problematic. They had a lot of trouble on Briarfield Drive, you may know or may not know. Pipes delaminating. We experienced that in the CK system from the hydrogen sulfide gases. So that pipe's much more likely to have the big problems that we don't know about yet. And as the supervisor alluded to, we have the camera technology and the operators to go out there right away. And with the heads up of the current operator, we went through the whole system on a map, and he basically circled and showed us problem areas. Those are the problem areas we'll hit with our camera first, see what we're looking at, and be able to develop an initial plan to present to the board of anything we think is critical. As to the pump stations, you expressed some concern about the pump stations. I have to say the pump stations were in better condition than we thought they would be. We have a lot of experience with pump stations. We have a lot of them. Actually, a couple of them are the same manufacturers of what we're used to working with. We actually have pumps in stock right now if we needed to make an emergency swap. There's a few other pump stations that are kind of new to us, but I've been working with some outside contractors just to learn about them and get experience talking about them. So I'm confident we'll be able to handle anything there. And starting this week, actually, we're installing new tech that is what we're bringing online for the transition at these pump stations. So we're going to have a much better picture remotely, you know, from any office, from any phone, from anywhere. We'll know what's going on with each pump, how it's running, the water levels in the station, and we can respond accordingly. So I think from where the system's been to where it's going, immediately there's going to be some big changes for the better, and at a minimal cost to the district itself right off the bat. I mean, some of this stuff is stuff that's just experience, as the supervisor indicated. We also have equipment on hand that we don't have to contract out and that type of thing. So overall, I think the system is in better shape than the CK system was, based on what we're learning. There are some hurdles out there. There is an enormous force main. It's 5,000, it's over a mile long. That's going to be all in the woods. And that's something in the future that, you know, potentially poses a problem. That's not something we can't take care of. It's something we're not used to having. It's such a remote, long distance pipe. It runs from Boyack all the way to Grissom. Yeah. Yeah. And that's tough country all through there. Yeah. So, but overall, we've learned a lot, and like I said, this week we're going to be on the ground with them, installing our technology that we have throughout our other pump stations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Mike, and thank you for your proactive work with. And I want to thank the current owner too. I mean, he gave us a little bit of time, and gave us access to his main maintenance person. So all of that information will be very helpful. Now we have two, yeah, I was just gonna say, we have, two other folks here. If you had a question or comment, please come on. How you doing tonight?
Gotta apologize. I'm not good at speaking.
Oh, that's okay. How you doing?
Roger, my name is 32 Mill Drive.
How you doing?
I have no problem with switching over. The prices, the charges are gonna be exactly the same what we're paying. So, my first question is, looking on the printout, that maps are available. Are those as-built maps or just showing the main line?
What do we have?
We don't have any as-built for like laterals and that type of thing, if that's what you're looking for. Now, that's to say they may exist. I have spoken to Jim Faulkner, the operator.
He's
You see him running around?
probably the fellow that's been in
Yeah,
the
there are certain laterals that are documented, and he has them in files. I haven't seen them yet, but I'm not at all guaranteeing that your lateral or anybody else's is, I just know that there are some that they have as-built maps from. I assume it's from the houses that they built back in the day. But there are some. So once we have those in our hands, we certainly would have them available for public record.
Yeah, I realize it's early because you haven't taken over the system, right? From what I've been told, they don't know when my lateral comes in on Merrill Drive.
That's not uncommon
Okay.
from our past
So my
experience.
question is, if the sewer department, once they take it over, and they located my lateral using a transducer, who absorbs that cost?
Of finding it?
Mm-hmm.
If you call our office and we're not busy and you need us to help you find where your lateral connects to the main, we're glad to do that. We've been doing that for years.
Okay, the
Yeah.
question is, I have some older trees out there.
So you want to trace your entire lateral?
Well,
Okay, I can tell you where it ties into the main. We have the technology in certain situations, but the town sewer department is not responsible for the operation or maintenance of your lateral. So, if we can help, we can help, but other than that, I can tell you where it ties into the main.
okay, so,
Well, what he's saying is,
yeah, how would you trace that? Would you go from the manhole up to it, scanning it that way? Or would you go from my house out to the main?
We have the ability to do both. It's not a service we provide unless there's a known problem that could implicate the district as being responsible, and we want to try to figure it out and, work with you to rule out either party.
Yeah,
So
right now,
that's
I
what we
have no
can do
problem, I have no
that.
problem, but
Right.
if I lose the trees and want to replant the trees, I'm gonna have to know where that lateral is.
You just call my office.
Okay, I realize it's early in the.
Yes. It's a service we can do. We often do it when there's a known problem to figure out who's responsible, especially when it's really curious. If you call my office, we can certainly try to help you out.
Okay. Because I was told when I was talking to them, when I had a problem on Merrill Drive on the main, that is translite pipe.
Yeah.
It's, in a way, I'm skeptical of sending the scope up, the pipe.
Hey,
Sure.
translate can be great. It's just when there's gas in the
Right.
ground, it really.
That's what I'm afraid of. Am I gonna open up a can of worms? Okay, thank you.
thank you. Yeah, basically what Mike is saying is that there is the responsibility of the town, and then at that point, when it pertains to your lateral, that becomes the responsibility of the homeowner. So we do as much as we can to help without going past the line of working on private property where we shouldn't. But as Mike said, our goal has always been, if there's a suspected problem, that we take the extra step of determining where the problem is originating. And if it's a town issue, we take care of it right away. If it isn't, we'll inform the homeowner, but at least there's peace of mind for the homeowner that this is the issue and this is what needs to be fixed, depending on the individual situation. But we just need to be careful about working on private property. And that's true of any function of town. Jim?
Got a lot of problems.
I hope not. Hopefully not too many. We want to ease into this whole operation here.
Jim Mays, 22 Parkwood Lane, Clifton Park, got the big pump right there at the end. And they're always digging it up. I just had a couple of questions on, say, a new development is put up, and you have several in work on. So how do they, what do they do for the sewer? Where does it go, or do they have to form,
You mean just the new houses anyhow?
no, say you put a, well, say Carlson Farms, they
Yeah.
built that, there's
Right.
several houses in there.
Right.
Do they have to sewer system?
No,
It goes to the town.
correct. The developer builds the sewer and the water
Yeah.
systems, and then they're handed over to the town.
That's part of the town? Carlson Farms?
Well, no, the public parts of it, whatever it might be, are handed over to the town. It could be property or trails or whatever it might be. But the county sewer department would take care of the sewers. The Clifton Park Water Authority.
Oh, I
would-
understand that.
Oh,
So there's no sewer district, no private, it's the county that takes care of it, not the town.
correct.
So you got the town,
We only
you got
take care of,
private,
yeah,
and you got the county. And they're all around it.
right.
Private, county, and town.
Yeah.
I just want to say something, I said, why don't we just send everything through the county?
That'd be great. We love the county to take
It all-
ownership of all of these districts, although I'd have to find something else for Mike to do.
It all goes down the road.
It does. It does. It's a question of ownership. And if the county sewer department does not take ownership of these systems and these customers, then, the nearest municipality is required to do so, and that's what we
If
do.
everybody's pumping into the county system.
Right, and everybody pays
Lines
it.
up in the county.
Right, right, and everybody pays a charge for that.
Yes.
Right. Right, but there has to be a mechanism for operations and maintenance of the lines within, in this case, Crescent Way sewer system. And if they're not private-
Every 3 months, we pay a charge.
Yep.
And they take care of all the fixing or
Correct,
whatever has to happen.
correct,
One more question.
certainly.
Low Road, there's several houses there that are not hooked in, because they're not part of the development. That the developer put to sewer.
Mhm.
Can they get into the system, into the town system once you put that over?
They could, it depends on where the main pipe is and where the
Right across
system.
the street.
Yeah, so, because, obviously there's a cost to that. The cost will be borne by the, person that wants to join the system. So if you have Crescent Waste and you have a guy across the street that wants to join, well, he's gotta pay for the hookup to the system, and then obviously pay for the hookup into his house and whatever infrastructure would be needed to do that. But that would solely be on that burden would be totally with the person that wants to hook into the system.
You could do that piecemeal, or would?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can approve one new user. In the case of Dutch Meadows, it happened to be 4 that got together, but yeah, we can do one at a time, sure. Yeah. And like I said, the more the merrier, the more people paying.
Are they gonna leave you a lot of money?
Nothing. They're not required to do any work on their way out. They're not required to leave, any funds in an account that we can use to operate
No equipment.
the system, no equipment. There's I guess they could out of the goodness of their heart, but they're not required by state law to leave us anything. We always have hoped for cooperation with information, because information is very, very valuable to us, obviously, as we begin to operate the system, but there's no requirement that, unfortunately, there's no requirement that any other equipment, money, anything needs to be left behind.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. The only time that we had a situation like that was CK Sanitary. They had come in for a rate increase. And with the rate increase process, we had hearings, and they come in, present their case, and what we did was we gave them a rate increase, but we tied it to improvements that needed to be made in the system. So in other words, to get the next rate increase, they had to spend a certain amount of money, as verified by our engineers, to get to that next rate increase. And we had it on a scale. So that way, yeah, we'll give you a rate increase, but there's also an expected benefit to the system as the rates do increase. So we went through that whole process with CK Sanitary, and they did get a relatively minor increase, but they did. And then I think it was a year or two later, they abandoned the system to us anyway. But was there anything you wanted to say on the first part of that, Mike, as far as the county goes? I mean, when we started to get these abandonments back in the early 2000s, that was one of our first discussions was with the county. You know, we don't have a sewer department, and everything goes to the county anyway. Why doesn't the county take ownership? But they have a policy, I'll say, that says that they won't accept these systems because they know that there's costs that will be incurred with assuming ownership. But Mike, is there?
I think that's exactly what I was gonna say, is they have a pretty stringent policy. Throughout the years, it's evolved. You'll notice in like the Knolls, and even down in the Crescent Waste area, there's small sections that would be county sewer that seem to be out in the middle of nowhere. And there was some sort of federal bond program that came through in the 70s. And they made some improvements with like CK Sanitary, or I believe maybe even with Crescent Waste. But at that time, as the improvement was made, they took ownership. It was a very unique thing. So you'll see these little hubs. But as the supervisor says, their standards are so high now that it can only come to us because the county just won't take it. They won't take it.
Here's what I found online.
That's great. They won't take anything even from us at this point. And so what we do, as we do capital projects, is we're doing everything to county standard to bring everything up to county standard, just so we're at the level they're at. So we use their standard as our goal. And they're just such a high standard, they won't take any of this stuff, especially when there's no maps, there's no record of what's going on. The pump stations aren't inventoried properly. They're just like, we don't want it. We can't take it. So.
And even if they did take it, they would charge.
That's right.
Because they know that there's costs that are incurred. Now, the hope is, and we've been saying this from the beginning, of accepting ownership of these systems is, well, if we over time bring the system up to county standards, perhaps there's a chance that they will accept these systems. But the viability of that is unknown, because obviously as you fix certain sections, which we've done some large capital improvement projects in these systems. But they continue to age too, right? So there's always work to be done. If we had, $1 billion and could just go in and change out all the pipes and bring everything up to county standard, would they take it? Yeah, probably. But obviously that's not a viable plan. So right now, this is what we have. We have a private owner of a private system that is no longer interested in operating the system. They have the right to abandon it to the local municipality, which in this case is Clifton Park. And until we can interest another party to in the ownership of the system, it stays with the town. Now, you might say that, well, we haven't heard much about the town operating these systems. I mean, you've got thousands and thousands of customers, and geez, we haven't heard anything about it. Well, that's because we've done a very good job, and we will continue to do a good job. If we were doing a bad job over the last 15 years, believe me, you would have seen and heard a lot about it. So we'll continue to stay on top of things, be proactive, and do it in a very frugal manner. That's how we operate the town as a whole, and the operation of Crescent Way Sewer will be no different. Anything else you want to add?
Keep painting the trucks white.
What's that?
Keep painting the trucks white.
Yeah. Any other comments from the town board?
I do have one comment
Oh, yes.
from
Oh, yeah.
a resident that emailed in this morning. Her name is Wendy Hagley. She's from Aspen Wood Development. She had questions on cost. And within a half hour, Mike Bryan did talk with her. There was some confusion on cost. She's very happy with it now.
Oh.
She's confused, she just wanted to.
Okay. Yeah, if you could put that in the record for us, we'd appreciate it. Walt, anything else you want to add?
I think everything's been covered.
All right, good. So, thanks for the quick work on the map plan report, because we had to have that done. And I know there was some time to get the information and then to compile it all. Walt and Mike worked with the assessor. I want to thank Walter and Kelly they went through the whole list. So we feel very good about the information that we have, and that's what we use going forward. And Mike, just stay on it, be proactive, keep working with their folks as much time as they'll give us. The more we learn now, the better off we'll be down the line.
Took my vacation early, we're ready.
All right, very good. All right, with that, we'll close the public hearing. We do have, thank you folks for coming, appreciate it. If you have any other questions after you leave here, just let us know. And we do have 5 resolutions, so Teresa, if you could read through those, please.
A resolution establishing the Baltimore Lake Sewer District number 1, authorizing the acquisition and construction of improvements to the sewer district subject to referendum, and upon its own motion, scheduling a special town election on August 17, 2020, pursuant to New York State Town Law, Chapter 94, to allow owners of taxable real property within the proposed district to consider whether the town board should establish the proposed sewer district, whereas the town board of the town of Clifton Park proposes to establish the Ballston Lake Sewer District number 1 in the town of Clifton Park, New York, pursuant to Article 12A of the town law. And whereas the town of Ballston has adopted a map plan report by Delaware Engineering dated July 9, 2015, which provides the engineering and cost information relative to the establishment of a sewer district within the town of Ballston, near the town line with Clifton Park and generally within the vicinity of Ballston Lake, and has established a sewer district subject to referendum, and whereas the map plan report relating to the establishment of the proposed district within the town of Clifton Park, near the town line with the town of Ballston, and also generally within the vicinity of Ballston Lake, has been prepared by John J. McDonald Engineering, PC, a competent engineering license by the state of New York, in the manner and detail required for the town board, has been filed with the town clerk in accordance with the requirements of Article 12A of the town law. And whereas the town board established a district initially by resolution 192 of 2015 and reestablished a district by resolution 284 of 2018 to reflect the additional $2,550,932 in grant funding made available to the project by the State Clean Water Fund, and whereas following appropriate advertising and solicitation pursuant to Section 103 of New York State General Municipal Law on October 8, 2019, bids were opened with the low bids exceeding previous engineers' estimates for the construction phase of the project. And whereas on January 3rd, 2020, the town of Ballston was advised by the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Conservation that the project has been awarded up to an additional $5 million from the state's Water Quality Improvement Fund to assist the town in the elimination of inadequate on-site septic systems within the project area and to offset additional costs of the project per bid opening. And whereas on June 1st, 2020, resolution number 107 of 2020 was adopted by the town board reciting the initial filing of the map plan report, the boundaries of the proposed district, the improvements proposed, and the procedural history of the project, including the additional funding sources as outlined above, including the estimated expense of these improvements, the proposed method of financing and the cost of district and properties in the district, and the fact that the map plan and report are on file in the town clerk's office for public inspection and all other matters required by law to be stated. And whereas the establishment of sewer districts within the town of Clifton Park and the town of Ballston are both necessary for the financing and construction of a joint project for sewer improvements in the project areas which generally surround the Ballston Lake watershed in response to environmental studies which show decreasing water quality within the lake. And whereas the town board of the town of Ballston has declared itself lead agency and has caused an environmental assessment form to be prepared and has issued a negative declaration under secret, which are on file in the town clerk's office and is available for review notice hours. And whereas the environmental assessment form and negative declaration remain in full force and effect, and the increase in the maximum amount proposed to be expended and the funding sources used to offset those expenses are within the conditions, limitations, and thresholds of the negative declaration issued for the joint project by the town of Ballston on August 28, 2015. And whereas resolution number 107 of 2020 called a public hearing to be held on June 15, 2020 at 7:05 p.m. to hear all persons interested in this matter and to take action as required by law. And whereas the resolution was published and posted as required by law, and whereas the public hearing on the matter was held by the town board on June 15, 2020, beginning at 7:05 p.m. And the matter was fully discussed and all interested persons were heard. Now therefore be it the town board of Town of Clifton Park hereby determines that the notice of hearing was published and posted as required by law and is otherwise sufficient. All the property and property owners within the proposed district are benefited thereby. All the property and property owners benefited are included within the limits of the proposed district. The establishment of this district is in the public interest. It is further determined and resolved that the town map plan and report prepared by McDonald Engineering dated August 17, 2015 be adopted. And it is further resolved that the town board hereby approves the establishment of the Ballston Lake Sewer District Number 1 as the boundaries shall finally be determined, and approves of the construction of the sewer system improvements and facilities as set forth in the map plan and report with improvements, including construction, acquisition of pipes, pumps, and material, acquisition of lands and easements, illegal and engineering fees shall be publicly bid as a joint project with the town of Ballston with the Ballston Lake Sewer District Number 1 improvements to be financed by the issuance of serial bonds and bond anticipation notes of the town of Ballston with the town of Clifton Park providing debt service payments to Ballston in the proportion to the property benefited within each town as a percentage of the joint project area and according to the projected number of users and usage. Such debt service charges to be assessed, levied, and collected in the same manner as all other charges against the district and consistent with the engineering map plan and report as adopted. And it is further resolved that upon its own motion, the town board does hereby submit to all owners of taxable real property within the proposed district as eligible voters pursuant to town law, chapter 94 of the special election, to be held on August 17, 2017, the proposition as follows. Proposition number 1, shall town board resolution number 117 of 2020 approved by the Clifton Parks Town Board on June 15, 2020, authorizing the establishment of the Ballston Lake Sewer District Number 1, which encompasses a sewer collection system in the town of Clifton Park in conjunction with a similar system within the town of Ballston in accordance with the map plan report adopted by the town board on September 8, 2015, with properties benefited generally described as beginning at the southern end of the boundary line between Clifton Park and the town of Ballston near the intersection of Shaga Road and Ballston Lake Road, including 4 parcels from frontage on Ballston Lake Road and or Mill Road, more particularly described as Exhibit A attached at an estimated maximum cost of $2,355,000, which is to be financed as a New York State Water Fund grant, a New York State Water Quality Improvement Grant, and by the issuance of bonds of the town of Ballston to secure a 30-year loan from the New York State Clean Water State Revolving Fund with properties within the Clifton Park District assessed costs on a benefit basis and with the estimated cost of the district for typical property, single-family home being $910 per year, and which sewer district is dependent upon an affirmative referendum vote in the town of Ballston approval of the New York State Office of the Comptroller be approved. A resolution scheduling a referendum on the establishment of the Ballston Lake Sewer District Number 1, whereas by a resolution proposed the 117 of 2020, the town board approved the establishment of the Ballston Lake Sewer District subject to a referendum on the proposition identified in such resolutions by its own motion, and whereas the town board wishes to schedule the referendum at a time and place convenient for qualified voters within the proposed district, and whereas the district is proposed to be established in coordination with the establishment of a sewer district within the town of Ballston, which has scheduled this referendum for August 17, 2020, and whereas the town board wishes to schedule the referendum on the proposition in coordination with the town of Ballston, now therefore be it resolved that the referendum on the establishment of the Ballston Lake Sewer District Number 1 is hereby scheduled to take place on August 17, 2020 at the Ballston Lake Firehouse, 1125 Ballston Lake Road, Ballston Lake, New York, between the hours of 12 noon to 8 p.m. and be it further resolved that all owners of the real property whose names appear on deeds to real property within the proposed district as shown upon the assessor roll of the town, which was completed on July 1st, 2019, are eligible to vote in such referendum on the following proposition, which is the same proposition as the resolution I just read. A resolution determining that establishment of the Clifton Park Sewer District Number 2 is an unlisted action for purposes of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, whereas pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEPR, the regulations adopted pursuant thereby to the Department of Environmental Conservation of New York State, as amended by regulations, the town desires to comply with the SEPR Act and regulations with respect to the project. And whereas the town board is considering the establishment of Clifton Park Sewer District Number 2 to operate, maintain, and administer sanitary sewer improvements and facilities being abandoned to the town by the Crescent Waste Treatment Corporation in the southern part of the town. And whereas MJ Engineering has prepared an environmental assessment form to assess the impacts of the proposal, and whereas the provision of sanitary sewer service to residential homes is in the public interest and is consistent with environmental policy of the town board as expressed in all comprehensive planning documents. Now therefore be it resolved by the members of the Clifton Park Town Board as follows. The board adopts the environmental assessment form prepared by MJ Engineering as consultants on the project, and the project constitutes unlisted action under 6 NYCRR Chapter 617.2 as it constitutes a streamlined legislative procedure only. This resolution shall take effect immediately. A resolution establishing the Clifton Park Sewer District Number 2 and authorizing the acceptance of replacements and other assets held by Crescent Waste Treatment Corporation to be abandoned to the town pursuant to the New York State Transportation Corporation law. Whereas on April 20th, 2020, the Crescent Waste Treatment Corporation, organized under the New York State Transportation Corporation laws, advised the town of its intent to abandon all facilities improvements to the town Clifton Park pursuant to New York State TCL 119.3, and whereas the town board proposes to establish the Clifton Park Sewer District Number 2, the district in the service area formerly served by the Crescent Waste Treatment Corporation pursuant to Article 12A of the town law for the purpose of maintenance, operation, and administration of the sanitary sewer systems within the area, and whereas the map plan report relating the establishment of the proposed district has been prepared by MJ Engineering, competent engineers licensed by the state of New York in the manner and detail required by the town board, has been filed with the town clerk in accordance with the requirement of Article 12A of the town law, and whereas resolution number 110, 2020 called a public hearing to be held on June 15, 2020 at 7:20 p.m. to hear all persons interested in this matter and to take action as required by law, and whereas this resolution was published and posted as required by law, and whereas a public hearing on the matter was held by the town board on June 15, 2020, beginning at 7:20 p.m., and the matter was fully discussed and all interested persons were heard. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Clifton Park hereby determines that the notice of hearing was published and posted as required by law and is otherwise sufficient. All the property and property owners within the proposed district are benefited thereby. All the property and property owners benefited are included within the limits of the proposed district, and the establishment of this district is in the public interest. It is further determined and resolved that the map plan report prepared by MJ Engineering and dated June 12, 2020 be adopted. It is further resolved that the town board hereby approves the establishment of the Clifton Park Sewer District Number 2 as the boundaries shall finally be determined and approved of the acceptance of the sewer system improvements and facilities as set forth in the map plan report, which improvements including acquisitions of pipes, pumps and materials, acquisitions of land and easements, legal and engineering fees shall be financed through the collection of the sewer district assessments as detailed in resolution proposed 117 of 2020 and the map plan report. A resolution authorizing acceptance of an offer of dedication for land to be transferred from private ownership to the town of Clifton Park for permanent protection and expansion of the Wilcox Preserve habitat. Whereas the town of Clifton Park Planning Board approved the 2-lot residential subdivision for 13.07 acres of land adjacent to New York State Highway Route 146A on February 11, 2020, and whereas said project was identified as Planning Board Project 2019-037, and whereas Martin Builders, as applicant for the subdivision, has offered a donation of land adjacent to the Woodcock Preserve habitat to the town as permanent open space consistent with subdivision approvals for the project. And whereas said 7.12 acres of land is identified as tax map parcel ID 264.3-67, and whereas on May 22nd, 2020, the town of Clifton Park Acquisition Subcommittee of the Open Space Trails and Riverfront Committee transmitted a positive recommendation for the acceptance of said parcel of land. And whereas the permanent protection of said parcel under town ownership would provide future options for a trail and trail connection to the adjacent Wilcox Preserve owned and maintained by Saratoga Plan, and expansion of continuous open space habitat for wildlife. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of Clifton Park hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute all necessary documentation required to transfer tax map parcel to the town of Clifton Park from the current property owner of record.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the resolutions? Teresa, if you read the heading, and we'll consider each resolution individually.
Resolution number 117 of 2020, a resolution establishing the Balsam Lake Sewer District Number 1 and authorizing the acquisition and construction of improvements to the sewer district subject to referendum and upon its own motion scheduling the special town election on August 17, 2020 pursuant to New York State Town Law, Chapter 94, to allow owners of taxable real property within the proposed district to consider whether the town board should establish a proposed sewer district. So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen, and as we mentioned earlier, the town of Ballston is having a special meeting tonight, so we're on the same time frame, and we'll move forward and see if the second vote is affirmative as the first one was or not. Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Walowicz? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 118 of 2020, a resolution scheduling a referendum on the establishment of the Balsam Lake Sewer District Number 1. So moved. Second?
Moved by Ms. Walowitz, second by Mrs. Standard. Discussion.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Walowicz? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 119 of 2020, a resolution determining that establishment of the Clifton Park Sewer District Number 2 is an unlisted action for purposes of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. So moved. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Walowitz. The first two resolutions involve the Ballston Lake Sewer District Number 1. Next two involve the Crescent Waste sewer service and the creation of a special district. So we have this resolution and the next.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 120 of 2020, a resolution establishing the Clifton Park Sewer District Number 2 and authorizing the acceptance of improvements and other assets held by Crescent Waste Treatment Corporation to be abandoned to the town pursuant to the New York State Transportation Corporation law.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Wallowitz. Any further discussion on this topic? As we discussed in length, we're prepared. We're just going to continue to be proactive, and I know our team's going to do a great job operating this system as we have the others. We're a long way from those initial days, right?
Sure are.
They seem like only a distant memory.
It does seem like that.
It was quite stressful at the time, though.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 121 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of an offer of dedication to land to be transferred from private ownership to the town of Clifton Park for permanent protection and expansion of the Woodcock Preserve habitat.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Wallowitz. John Scavo, Planning Director, is here tonight to tell us a little bit about this property and why we might take it. John, how are we doing?
Good, sir. Yes, this was a requirement of both the.
You take the,
Oh, sorry.
it's very nice and colorful.
Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals, that this land, which is contiguous to the Woodcock Preserve, be offered for donation to the town of Clifton Park, which will increase the preserve by approximately 20% in size, provide contiguous habitat protection for the wildlife in that area.
And this was in connection with something else?
Correct, a 2-lot subdivision.
And was this a required transfer of ownership or a donation?
It was required to be offered for donation.
Hold on. You took both my options. It was required to be offered for donation.
We required the property owner to offer to the town a donation of 7.12 acres of land.
Well, it didn't necessarily have to be that exact amount, but it had to, what I'm getting at is the land had to have some value, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I was getting to. All right. Anything else you want to say about it?
That's it.
Any questions for John? Okay. All right, so as John said, it would be definitely a good-sized addition to that particular open area, Woodcock Preserve. All right. What is it?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes, other business to come before the board this evening. Okay, seeing none. Again, I want to thank Matt and Buildings and Grounds for getting this all together. It was a lot of work. Everything had to be trucked over from town hall, and you can see the wires and stuff going on here, but well done. Thanks, Walt, for your presentation tonight on Crescent Way Sewer. And I also want to thank everybody involved with the town for their continued flexibility. I know I've thanked everybody a few times over the last few months, but the fact that everybody's really come together to work as a team, to get through the changing circumstances each day. As I said, it was changing daily as things tightened, and now it's changing daily as some of the policies are loosened. And it's, so it's certainly been an interesting few months. Stick around long enough, you'll see everything, right? But I do want to thank everybody for working hard and pulling together to get the job done, especially those days when we were short personnel due to the workforce reduction mandates. I also want to, before I forget, mention the transfer station. We've been changing their hours all the time. And trying to get that information out to people as much as possible. The good news is, since we had to incorporate the initial reductions, we've been adding hours, so it's only become more convenient for our customers. But I know for the people that work there, it's been constant changes. And now tomorrow, we're incorporating the new hours that we approved in the very beginning of the year that never came to fruition because of the COVID shutdown. So those new hours start tomorrow. So we'll gauge if that change in the hours has any effect on the decrease in permits that we've been experiencing in recent years. So we'll gauge it and see what happens. All right, with that.
Motion to adjourn.
Second by Mr. Whalen?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowa?
Yes.
Supervisor Barry?
Yes, thank you.
I know.